Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to call the November 3rd meeting of the Common Council to order. I will ask our clerk to call the roll to determine a quorum.
Alderperson Barzak.
Here.
Chaplesky.
Here.
Haas.
Here.
Lysick.
Here.
Me.
Here.
Probst.
Here.
Ranke.
Here.
Rote.
Here.
Vitale.
Here.
Weigel.
Here.
10 present, none excused.
We have a quorum. Alderman Barzak will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have 3 items up for public hearing this evening. I'll ask the clerk to read public hearing number 1.
A hearing on the special use permit for Bob's Coins, a proposed hobby and coin business with secondhand article retail sales to be located at 3050 South 92nd Street.
Mr. Stiebel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bob's Coin has been in the West Dallas area for over 40 years, previously located at 83rd and Beecher, and is now relocating to this location at 3050 92nd Street, formerly occupied by a florist and a wedding shop. It's zone C3 because they're going to be doing a secondhand dealer. It requires a special use. From the secondhand dealer, they buy and sell collectibles, coin stamps, memorabilia, gold bullion, silver bullion. They purchase jewelry, but not for resale or to customers, to individual customers. They're shipped off to an off-site facility. Hours of operation are, in the resolution, are 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. and on Sunday 9 to 5. They currently anticipate initially starting out at a lot less hours than that. The site has 8 parking spaces behind the building, 13 are required, and they're going to do some minimal landscaping is all that's necessary in the front of the building. The Plan Commission has reviewed this recommendation, has recommended approval, and we've received no objections to date. If you have any additional questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Stiebel. Are there any questions or comments from the Common Council on this item? Seeing none, are there any questions or comments from the audience on this item? Okay, seeing none, we will close public hearing number 1, and I will ask our clerk to read public hearing number 2.
A hearing on the special use permit to establish Big Boys Mufflers, a proposed auto repair facility to be located at 8108 West National Avenue.
Mr. Stiebel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the 8108 West National Avenue is an existing building. The whole complex of buildings actually was probably built sometime around the 1940s. As you can see in the back, there's a lot of area there for parking. Because it's going to be a muffler shop, is auto repair. They're going to do minor auto repair, mufflers, suspensions, tire repair, tire replacement, that sort of thing. But it still requires a special use, and that's the purpose of the public hearing. And the hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturday, 9 to 4. As I noted, in the rear of the site, they have a large area for parking. 10 parking spaces will be required in this historically parking impacted area. Surprisingly, it has about 9 parking spaces available to it. The Plan Commission has reviewed this proposal, has recommended approval, and we've received about 4 objections to date concerning noise and street parking. No street parking will be allowed in public right-of-way once they take possession of the cars, and they cannot be kept on site for longer than 2 weeks. If you have additional questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Stiebel. Are there any questions or comments from the Common Council on public hearing number 2?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Weigel.
John, we have this description of their business. No spray painting booth. Is that correct? So
that is correct.
Okay. Welding and cutting torches, probably yes, though, correct?
Probably. I mean, they may have to cut out mufflers.
I understand that. And the fire departments would be aware of that, and there's some
They have to meet all codes in compliance with that.
And reading the special use, it says very specifically in there that the doors are going to be kept closed, except for when they're putting vehicles in and out. And there's limits of time of day that the business would be in operation. And I think, because we maybe got a little bit off to a rough start with the gentleman that's in there now, with, you know, some of the neighbors who were reacting to what was going on. And I just wanted to make sure that everybody understands that we're going to hold this business to the terms of this special use. I mean, I think a couple of us are going to be keeping an eye on it.
That is correct. Particularly, they're under a conditional occupancy, temporary occupancy, while we processed this through. And there were some issues that came up. I know there's been several neighborhood meetings that I think some of the aldermen have helped facilitate. But the special use is specific in those issues. And if there is noise or parking in the street, that sort of thing, the special use can be revoked.
But their customers, let's say a customer would be able to park on the street, but once it becomes a service vehicle for them, then it needs to go into their back lot.
Correct.
And there will be absolutely no work done in the street, not like a quick pinstripe job or anything. It's all going to happen.
Any work done in the street will be subject to revocation of the special use.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Weigel. Are there any other questions or comments from the council?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Probst?
John, and I apologize if you stated this and I missed it. Can you restate the hours of operation?
9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 9 to 4 on Saturday.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the common council? Seeing none, are there any questions or comments from the audience on this item? Okay. Seeing none, we will close public hearing number 2. And I will ask the clerk to read public hearing number 3.
A hearing on the 2015 City of West Dallas Mayor's recommended budget.
Mr. Weiss.
Yes, sir. Everybody hear me okay? Yes.
Yes.
All right. What follows is a presentation of the mayor's recommended budget. As we put together the budget, we tried to keep into consideration these 9 overarching principles, chiefly among them maintaining service levels, looking for efficiencies, keeping in mind taxpayer ability to pay, and sustainability. When we talk about taxpayer ability to pay, average household income in West Dallas per the 2012 state estimates is about $44,000 per year. That's lower than the state and national averages, so that was paramount in our considerations as we went forward with putting together this budget. Organizationally, there was one large change in that the Department of Administration and Finance was eliminated and broken into 4 separate departments: Finance, Information Services, City Clerk, and Human Resources. Along with that, 1 managerial position was eliminated. Information Technology has taken on the communications and print shop services, and Finance Department has taken on purchasing and the Treasury. So from a 30,000-foot level, general fund expenditures proposed $57,227,000, about a 0.8% change over 2014. Assessed value up 0.07%. That doesn't sound like much, but as I'll demonstrate in a graph later on, our assessed values had been dropping pretty steadily since 2010. So this is the first year that those values stabilized, which is a very positive sign for the city as a whole and for the local economy. We estimate a 0.28% increase in the tax levy. That would amount to approximately 3 cents on the tax rate. For an individual who owns a $150,000 assessed valued home in West Dallas, that would amount to approximately $4.50 of additional taxes for the year. As I mentioned earlier, down 1 employee, and our fund balance projections from 2014 to 2015 remain stable. Historic presentation of positions. Since 2000, the city is down 45 positions. And speaking to that, as a percentage of the general fund budget, which is the main operating fund of the city, 86% of those costs relate to human capital. So on a department level basis, the general government area, which is administrative departments, which primarily service other city departments, legislative departments, and some public service departments like the clerk and municipal court and attorney. Those expenditures overall down about 1.3%, due mainly to some savings and changes on the fringe benefit side. This $500,000 or $600,000 reduction in purchasing really then gets redistributed to the departments that purchasing was absorbed into. Part of that being information services and part of that being the finance department. Public safety expenditures up about $700,000. This relates primarily to bargained wage increases for policemen and firefighters. Public Works Department, budget basically flat from 2014 to 2015, a slight reduction of about $6,000. Again, a small increase for the health department, senior center. Library came in with a budget identical to 2014. So overall, expenditures up $452,000 or 0.8%. On the revenue side, just a couple of highlights to point out. One is a gain in hotel tax because the new hotel that is being built on 82nd Street, John Stiebel and the Department of Development have guaranteed it will be opened by fair time next year. That will produce some additional revenue to the city. And also on interest income, the city partnered with its subsidiary corporation Fire to make a loan to Renaissance Fair to build a parking structure at the Renaissance Fair development on 60th and just south of Main for Johnson Controls, which is bringing in approximately 800 new jobs into the city of West Allis. So overall, revenue up $452,000, the same amount as expenditures in the general fund. Since 2010, this is a comparison of levy versus expenditure growth. The blue represents expenditures, the red represents levy. Expenditure growth has been fairly stable, most of that due to bargained wage increases. The levies, you can see a substantial difference between the two, most of that pertaining to the levy freeze, where the city is only allowed to raise its levy for the amount of new construction and then the amount to cover any outstanding debt service. This is just a brief history of the city's tax levy increases since 2010. You can see there's a sharp decline. The amount in 2015 is 10% of what it was back in 2010. As I mentioned earlier, assessed values are down substantially from what they were in 2010, but 2015 represents the first stabilization of those values over the last few years, which is a positive sign. We believe that those values, at least for the next couple of years, should start a slow swing back up. It'll probably take some time to reach back to even the 2013 level. Capital Projects Fund, the item that I'd like to point out here is this item, this $700,000 has been put in the budget this year, which addresses some deferred maintenance on city infrastructure. The funding for this is coming from reserves that have been set aside for the purposes that they're being used for. So, for example, there are reserve funds set up for building repair, and those reserves are going to be used to address some building needs, some roofing, some heating and cooling, some plumbing issues, and also some productivity enhancements from our IT department. Utility funds, we are proposing a decrease to the waste management, quarterly waste management fee. It's currently $24.81. We're proposing reducing that to $22.50 per quarter. It's a reduction of $2.31 per quarter. The City of Milwaukee had put into the Public Service Commission for a water rate increase. They asked for a 20% rate increase. If that would be approved by the Public Service Commission, the average family that uses 30 CCFs per quarter would see an increase of about $3.56 per quarter or $14 per year. Within the last week, the PSC has come out with their recommendation for a 13% increase, not the 20 that the City of Milwaukee has asked for, along with some other changes. If that change is adopted for the average user of 30 cubic feet per quarter, you'd see basically a change of about 50 cents per year in your utility bill. So once again, total levy increase of about $114,000 or 0.28%. What that means to the owner of a $150,000 home, as I mentioned, we estimate that rate to be $10.78, an additional $4.50. And if the PSC does adopt the 13% Milwaukee water rate increase, the owner of that $150,000 home would see about a $5 combined increase in their city property tax bill and their city services bill. And that bill covers, again, water, sewer, sanitary, and stormwater. So what does $1,600 in city property tax buy you? 3/4 of that buys you police, fire, and public works services. Those public works services being refuse collection, forestry, among others. But those are the large service providing that they do. Who's paying that tax? 64% of property taxes are paid by residential property owners, 34% commercial, 2% presently manufacturing. So as most of what I was talking about pertained to the city's general fund. That's the main operating fund, up 0.80%. The rest of the budget, approximately $9.7 million, are special revenue funds. These are programs that are funded by specific dollar sources that are not affected at all by property tax. So for example, Communications Department is funded exclusively by franchise fees paid by cable subscribers. Community development programs, housing assistance programs, federal and state health grants, police and fire grants, all paid for primarily by state and federal property taxes coming back into West Allis. The elimination of any of these programs would have no effect at all on the city's general fund budget or property tax levy. Fired the First Ring Industrial Redevelopment Enterprise. All revenue comes from fees paid by developers. The next section is capital projects. Again, about $5.4 million in capital projects. This is about what the city does each year, $2.75 million for streets, about another $1.5 million to $2 million for sewer, and about another $1.5 million for water. The difference this year was we're addressing some of that deferred capital maintenance. Debt service fund, the city has debt service payments for 2015 will be $4 million, up slightly from the year before. That's principal and interest payments that are related primarily to infrastructure, hospital, and tax incremental district. Debt service is those expenditures are paid for by the hospital. The last payment actually was this year, and from tax increment districts, which are self-sustaining districts. The last and largest section is that utility portion that I talked about, your storm, water utility, sanitary utility, and the solid waste fund. That gets us to our total budget of $128 million. About 31% of that $128 million is supported by property tax levy. The rest are it's their own segregated income sources. Copies of the budget are available online. There are a few in the back of the room, and you're welcome to take some of those if you'd like. And I will now entertain any questions there may be.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss, for the presentation. Are there any questions or comments from the Common Council? Okay, seeing none, are there any questions or comments from the audience? If you could give us your name and address, and then you can use the microphone on the podium, please.
Richard Kramer, 2120 South 97th. Excuse me. I just have a question on the budget. Last year, I think the Common Council voted on a proposal that the mayor had as far as a sustainability coordinator. Was the vote 5-5 and the mayor broke the tie? Excuse me.
I don't recall.
I don't recall the vote. I know it did pass, and
Yes.
with the retirement of the city administrator, we kind of held that position until we filled the city administrator position to get their input on what they were looking for in that position.
So did we fill the administrator position?
There's an interview scheduled in a couple of weeks for that.
And then we're going to wait until that to get this position filled?
Correct.
Okay. And that is a go, though. I mean, the administrator, not the administrator, this facilitator or whatever, that is already voted in, correct? Like you said?
It was for this year, yes.
Okay, because I was wondering why it was in this budget this year, and it was voted on last year, and it was a go. I don't understand.
The position wasn't. I think maybe what you heard me say is that one of the focuses that we had on was building sustainability into the budget. And by that, what I was talking about is when we talk about sustainability, we want to make sure that the operating revenue that we have coming in supports the expenditures that we have going out. So this individual isn't necessarily involved in that particular initiative. So maybe that was what your confusion was. The position is in the budget, and it's listed in the budget currently, but it's not being discussed as part of this now, I guess, is what I'm
Okay,
saying.
can you tell me what the salary of that person is going to be and the benefits, what it's going to cost?
The budgeted salary, which at this point was estimated, because we don't know, what the individual would be looking for, but in the budget right now is $70,000 for that position.
70,000.
Correct.
Okay.
Fringe benefits would probably add another 20,
Okay. Okay.
so about $100,000 all in.
Well, I think you guys and ladies did a fantastic job on a budget. I'm very, very happy with it. Thank you. So, thank you.
You
Thanks
bet.
for your comments. Does anybody else have questions or comments?
That was cute.
Mayor Devine,
Alderman May?
just a quick note that the Administration and Finance Committee will be taking this up, I believe, next Monday at 6 p.m. I just wanted to make sure that was announced. It will not be voted on tonight. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments on our third public hearing this evening? Okay, seeing none, we will close public hearing number 3, and we will move on to item E on your agendas, which is citizen participation. This is an opportunity for residents to address the council on any matters of interest to them. We make every effort to limit this section of our agenda to about 30 minutes. We ask that you try to keep your comments to approximately 5 minutes. Is there anybody that wishes to address the council under citizen participation this evening?
Pass it on. Take it, Lisa. Lisa
I'm
Wood.
sorry, can you use the microphone, please? It's okay. Oh, it's fine.
Lisa Wood. I don't recall my home address or the West Dallas address. Do you need?
You can do the West Dallas one.
Okay. 1645 South 68th Street. Wanting to take a couple minutes to, again, discuss the special use permit requested by the doghouse. I have been here before. We've had some discussions in the committee to try to resolve the issues. Unfortunately, we were not able to reach an agreement between the two parties. I wanted to share some photos that we took. I don't know if all of you had an opportunity to look at the property, but to see how very close these properties are. I'm passing around. This photo is my 13-year-old daughter, who's about my height, and she's almost touching the doghouse and our property here. She's standing in the middle, which is about where the patio begins and our property ends right here. So you put that one arm down, this is the distance between the patio and our property, here to here. So this to me says a lot of how very close it is and that it truly is in our backyard. This photo also shows the patio, our backyard, the windows, how very close this is, and the fact that the patio, unlike other outdoor patios that have been approved, this patio goes back into the neighborhood. So the other patios that have been approved not only have been forward, street-facing, into the busy street, they've also had neighborhood and neighbor support. This patio goes back into the neighborhood and does not have neighbor support. Another photo you can see, here's our windows. This is a bedroom. Here's the patio. And there's a lot of photos that show, again, just the close proximity. I just wanted to impress on all of you how really this affects and impacts our property. Okay, again, the patio, our property boundary, our windows. Okay, we tried to come to an agreement with a limitation on hours and a limitation on the number of people that would be allowed on the patio, and there was an objection and an expressed concern that they wanted to be able to have parties outside, and that was exactly my concern. This is our backyard. We don't want parties all the time. The special use permit is not a right. They have to overcome the requirements of the ordinances, and I don't believe that they have done that. I don't believe that they have shown that this patio will not affect our use, value, or enjoyment of the property, will not substantially impair or diminish our property. So again, the patio extends into our neighborhood. They've also indicated that they've never had any problems in the past. That is incorrect. In just the past 4 months, they were cited twice for serving underage people. I am not trying to degrade their business. I think they do, in general, a fine job. We hope to continue to coexist, but we don't want them in our backyard. So I do ask that when this does go into session and then subsequent vote, would ask that you deny the special use permit request.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the council under citizen participation this evening?
Hi, my name's Juliana Pulaski. I live at 1649 South 68th Street. I live on the other side of the rental property. I really don't see what the fuss is about. I've lived there 6 years. Never had a problem with the tavern. I sleep with my windows open in the summer. No noise. I can sleep at night. This is the first time I've met her in 6 years that I've lived there. So she doesn't actually live at this property to even know what's going on. So I just think that she should move forward getting her permits or whatever, and she's trying to better her property and business.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to address the council under citizen participation? Okay, seeing none, we will close citizen participation, and we will move on to item F, on your agendas. Our standing committees will be meeting during recess. Those room numbers are listed on page 1 of your agendas. Moving on to item G, the mayor's report. I just have a couple of things this evening. One is Saturday, November 1st, I was asked about doing a proclamation for something called Extra Mile Day, and I really wasn't too familiar with Extra Mile Day, but I looked it up, and cities across the country did this, and it was really honoring people that have gone the extra mile, whether it's in their communities, whether it's in their families or workplaces, things like that. And as I was looking at the mayor's report, a lot of the things I was going to talk about today were really about people going the extra mile, and just a couple things that we've had in this community that were very, very dependent on volunteers, starting with the Community Alliance Against Drugs event at Greenfield Park for Halloween. That was one of the Sunday or Saturday rather that had about 68 degrees, and the park was packed, and people from all over were volunteering to make that event happen, so I wanted to thank them. Similarly, we had the dinner honoring our block captains in the city and all the work that they do, so I want to thank them for going the extra mile. And on Saturday, Alderman Reinke and Alderman Vitale and I were at the Senior Center for the lunch honoring all of the volunteers for the Senior Center. And the number that was quoted by Denise Koenig was, of the 149 volunteers at the West Allis Senior Center, they put in over 13,100 hours of service to keep that center running. So again, I just want to take a moment to thank all the people in the city that do go the extra mile and take time to make the city a better place. As I know we mentioned at the last meeting, we did officially break ground on the Hampton Inn and Suites at 82nd and Greenfield. And I want to thank both Standrock Hospitality for developing this, as well as First Pathways Partners for working on the financing and funding of this hotel. I want to quickly thank the 3 new members of the West Allis Fire Department that were sworn in on the 22nd of October. And lastly, I just want to mention a community event coming up on Saturday, the 22nd of November. The Special Education PTA in the city is having a historical Harvest Fest, and that is going to be located at Lane Intermediate School, which is at 1300 South 109th Street from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. They're going to have crafts, vendors, kids' games and crafts, face painting, historical characters, things like that. It's free admission, but they do ask that you consider donating a non-perishable food item to restock the food pantries in our community for the upcoming holidays. Again, that's the Special Education PTA, Saturday, November 22nd at Lane Intermediate School. I believe that's everything I have this evening. That concludes the mayor's report. Moving on to item H, do we have any alderpersons' reports?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Reinke?
I guess I would like to add to what you were saying about the people that go the extra mile. That includes all our volunteers for committee level. Also, the poll workers. The poll workers are very important unit, you might say, for our community. They put in a lot of hours. I have a friend that's a poll worker, and she was here all day, I guess it was Friday, putting together all the absentee ballots. We don't realize, I guess, all the extra work that these volunteers do, and we certainly are appreciative of them. Also, I wanted to make mention of our Veterans Project that we have every Christmas, you might say, during the Christmas holidays. I know it's a little premature and it's a little early to make mention of it, but I did want to indicate to all our people that we will be putting up the tree with the stars for the veterans November 17th. November 17th is the day the Christmas tree goes up, and then you, as members of our community, pick a star. On the star is the name of the veteran that we service and what they have wished for. some of these gifts are very minuscule, you might say. They ask for sometimes just a book or candy or shaving cream, and some of them have reached out and wanted a larger gift, like a sweatshirt or socks or something like that. These are the vets that live on the 9th floor at the Veterans Hospital. They live there. They don't have, most of them don't have any family. So they're very appreciative of any gifts that the community donates to them. We've also expanded the program and are including the domiciliary unit of 8 veterans who live also on site. These are the veterans that do have drug-related problems, but they do live on site and have needs, very definite needs. So when you see this little tree, please pick a star. And the gifts have to be returned unwrapped by December 17th, and my committee, the celebrations committee, wraps all the gifts and delivers them. They'll be delivered before Christmas. So I'm hoping that the community is very generous again, like they have in the past. And I do thank the people that get involved and do support this project, because the veterans are certainly very, very appreciative of anything that we give them at that time. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Are there any other alderpersons' reports?
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Probst.
I would just like to remind everyone, as if you've been able to forget, there is an election tomorrow. So please make sure that you get out and vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other alderpersons' reports this evening? Okay.
Mayor Devine.
President Lysick.
I move for approval of the minutes of the Common Council regular meeting of October 21st, 2014.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Looking at item J, I'll ask for a motion to refer items 5 and 6 to the city attorney.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion by Alderman Probst, second by Alderman May. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Standing committee reports. Alderman Chableski.
Mayor Devine.
I'd like to report on items number 7 through 13 on tonight's agenda. These are various license reports. They're voted by 3 members, either for approval subject to necessary requirements, or in case number 13, to deny. I'd like to move for the adoption of this portion of the committee's reports.
Second.
There is a motion with a second by Alderman Reinke. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
And I'd like to make a motion, item number 14 on tonight's agenda be referred back to committee.
Second.
There is a motion with a second by Alderman Barzak. Is there any discussion?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Weigel?
Regarding item number 14, I was the lone dissenter in committee on this application, and I have a couple reasons. First of all, this individual...
The motion was to send it back to committee.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah. All right. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Mayor Devine.
President Lysick.
I move that we stand in recess until conclusion of the committee meetings.
Second.
There's a motion and a second by Alderman Reinke. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We are in recess.